Hello, everyone. Raise of hands, how many people have ever heard this saying, before you can solve a problem, you first have to acknowledge that you have one? Everybody. Millions of Americans forgo food and medicine to pay their energy bills, often fall so far behind that they get shut off, can't adequately regulate comfortable temperatures in their home, or have broken heating or cooling equipment. These are often referred to as situations of energy insecurity or energy poverty. However, in the US, energy insecurity and energy poverty are nebulous terms that don't exist in any statutory capacity. In other words, we haven't defined or recognized that energy poverty is a distinct problem. Also, we haven't particularly come up with more efficient and effective ways to measure our solutions to the problem and evaluate, again, how effective they are. So the work that I'm presenting today is about the first chapter of my dissertation. And so how do we recognize and how do we respond to energy poverty? And what we find here is that without a definition to energy poverty, it limits the amount or our overall understanding of the amount, the extent, and the causes of energy poverty. And consequently, it misguides how we actually measure the problem, and consequently misinforms how we evaluate the problem, which often leads to what we call path-dependent solutions, or these suboptimal solutions that we are in many ways fixed into based on prior decision-making. So our current understanding of energy poverty is based on this pseudo-recognition that we have based on the responses that we have at the federal level. We have two core programs. One's called LAHEAP, which is a bill assistance program. One is called WAP, or the Weatherization Assistance Program, which helps provide energy assistance retrofits to homes. How we recognize or how we define particular households in need are based on their eligibility to these programs. How we measure how effective these programs is based on how we distribute federal resources based on if these folks have a household member that has an elderly member, a young child, or someone that has a disability. For the WAP program, we measure their effectiveness based on the number of homes that are weatherized. Overall, to understand how effective these national evaluations are, LAHEAP is currently not have any national evaluations, and the weatherization program, despite having multiple evaluations that demonstrate how effective it is to operate, how cost effective it could be, as well as the non-energy benefits associated to energy efficiency. Here's a graph that demonstrates sort of how we deploy these responses. The top line, the orange one, is the LAHEAP program, or the bill assistance program. And as you can see, this is our primary form of how we respond to people who experience energy insecurity or energy poverty. The bottom line is the blue line, which represents household weatherization. And again, despite how effective it is, we see that our primary response is bill assistance. The spike you may see, and what you may be wondering, is during the Obama era when they when they actually had invested a lot more into weatherization and efficiency to promote more jobs, but also overall warmer homes and lower energy bills. And so understanding that the experience of energy poverty is varied, we need to move towards a more multidimensional understanding of it. And here I demonstrate kind of moving from energy generation to the home, but we have some leaks in this pipeline. And we can better conceptualize this thinking through sort of technical concepts of the home, such as how old is the house, does it have any energy efficient appliances, et cetera. The socioeconomic characteristics, so how many people live in the home, does the race or gender matter of the head of household, and also environmental and policy considerations. And so understanding that, do your delegates and support energy efficiency policies, but also like where you live matters. Consuming energy here in Michigan is starkly different than South Florida or Southern California. And so ultimately, if we can pull all these together, we can understand taking more of a risk assessment approach to understand, again, how all these things come together to assemble these specific energy poverty experiences that ultimately create some level of risk that threatens people's harms to their assets. And so in closing, I have here AAA Saves the Day. And so in principle, understanding energy justice and environmental justice really forwards everyone's adequate access to affordable, sustainable household energy. But first, we must define the problem to better understand who we need to target. That then will allow us to create measures that will allow us to effectively assess the extent that people experience this problem. And consequently, we can then evaluate how effective our solutions are to the problem. Thank you.